Good evening. Happy Veterans Day, happy Thanksgiving Day, and welcome to the November 13th, 2025 meeting of the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners. Everyone would please stand. I'll welcome Romel McMurray, our commission chaplain, for our prayer and our pledge. Romel.
Good evening. Before I pray, if you could just let's do a moment of silence in honor of our veterans who served our great country. Thank you, and thank you for your service for all those who serve. Let us pray. Most sovereign and all-wise God, we stand tonight to say thank you. When we look at what we have, where we live, what we can do, and so forth, we can't help but to give you the glory and the praise. Dear Lord, during this Thanksgiving season, let us be reminded of all of the many blessings that you bestow upon us and how you always continue to make ways out of no way. Father God, I ask that you meet the needs of so many that are struggling. Some have lost income, some live paycheck to paycheck, some have very little food, and some have thought about giving up. But we are reminded of a God we serve who never fails and who always will do what he said he will do. For we know that the government may have been shut down, but we know that you, dear Lord, have never and you never will shut down your love, your compassion, and the resources for us all. Let us see past red versus blue, rich versus poor, but let us focus on the potential of how great that you are, dear Lord, how great Rutherford County is, and how great the United States is, if we just show a little bit more empathy for our neighbors during challenging moments. I ask that you be with those families who have lost loved ones over the past year. This may be a difficult season for some, but let them be reminded that weeping may be endured for a night, but we know that joy will come in the morning. We ask for a speedy and safe healing over our County Mayor, Joe Carr. Heal his mind, body, and spirit for the weeks to come. We know that you are the great physician. We thank you, Lord, for all the veterans who served this great nation. We thank you for all of our wonderful first responders. Be with us tonight, us leaders, as we seek to carry out the will of the people, not the will of self, greed, or power. Let us work with purpose and lead with love. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Three white stars on a field of blue, God keep you strong and ever true. It is with pride and love that we salute the flag of Tennessee.
Thank you. You may be seated. This time I'll call on our Rutherford County Clerk, Lisa Crowell, to call the roll. Lisa?
Commissioner Oliver.
Present.
Commissioner Piercy.
Here.
Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Commissioner P.
Here.
Commissioner Davison.
Here.
Commissioner Beverly.
Here.
Commissioner Cush.
Present.
Commissioner Reed.
Here.
Commissioner James.
Here.
Commissioner Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Anthony Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Paul Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Irvin.
Here.
Commissioner Harris. Here. Commissioner Dodd.
Here.
Chairman Phillips.
Present.
Commissioner McAdoo.
Here.
Commissioner McMurray.
Here.
Commissioner Gooch.
Here.
Commissioner Sereno.
Yeah.
We have a quorum, 21 present.
Thank you, Lisa. This time I'll call on our Chairman Pro Tem Trey Gooch for the reading of our October meeting minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. I have reviewed the minutes and found them to be in order and sufficient. Motion to dispense with the reading and approve them as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the October 16th meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Next, item E, resolution of sympathy for Mark Tucker. I'm going to call on his commissioner, Carl Boyd. Get that to his family. Get that to his
I'd like for the family of Mark Tucker to join me up here if they want to. Robert, how you doing, buddy? Yeah. It's a resolution of sympathy for Mark Allen Tucker. Whereas it's with great sadness that Rutherford County Board of Commissioners learned of the death of Deputy Finance Director Mark Allen Tucker. And whereas Mark faithfully and proudly served Rutherford County for 12 years as Deputy Director of Finance, during which time he became an invaluable member of the county's leadership team. And whereas throughout his tenure, Mark exemplified the highest standards of dedication, generosity, and team spirit, earning the deep respect and admiration of his colleagues, department heads, and members of the Budget Committee. And whereas his steady guidance, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to the county's fiscal integrity greatly strengthened the Finance Department and advanced the sound financial stewardship of county government. Whereas Mark was a faithful member of Highland Heights Church of Christ, where he lived out his beliefs through quiet service, kind words, and generous spirit. He had a special gift for making people feel seen and valued. Mark was also known for his deep generosity. A proud graduate of the University of Tennessee at Martin, Mark earned his Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration in 1990. Over the next 35 years, he built a respected career in finance and accounting, serving with dedication and integrity in roles with the city of Franklin, the town of Smyrna, and Rutherford County, and others. Whereas Mark loved playing golf, watching sports, and working with his hands, especially woodworking, and figuring out how things worked. He had a natural curiosity and a knack for fixing just about anything. Whereas Mark was a Paul Harris Fellow with the Rotary Club, a member of the Government Finance Officers Association, a past secretary of the Tennessee Government Finance Officers Association, a Leadership Rutherford graduate, and a certified municipal finance officer with the state of Tennessee. And whereas he leaves to cherish his memory, his loving wife of 31 years, Keitha Berry Tucker, 2 children, Caitlin Tucker Steele and Robert Allen Tucker, his parents, Billy Joe and Bobby Jean Tucker, his brother, Greg Tucker. And whereas we know that his passing has caused great sadness to his family, friends, those who work with him, and the community as a whole, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners at its regular session on the 13th day of November 2025 does hereby extend sincere sympathy to the family of Mr. Mark Tucker. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution of sympathy be forwarded to the family of Mr. Mark Tucker by the clerk of this legislative body. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Item F, Veterans Day Resolution, Commissioner Joshua James.
This is a sampling of the veterans that this community has to offer. So if at this point, any of the veterans that have listed in this, if they'd like to make their way up here, any of the veterans or representatives of their families. And while they're coming up, if any fellow veterans in the room would stand to be identified. This time to thank you for your service as well. This is for all veterans of Rutherford County. Gotcha. It's the Veterans Day Resolution. Whereas veterans of Rutherford County serve this community during and after their service within the armed forces. Whereas serving veterans, such as local entrepreneur Sergeant Baker King, the owner-operator of King's Home Electric, while currently serving in the Army Reserves at Huntsville's 375th, or Sergeant Alex Weatherby, serving with the 390th Engineers and assisting local veterans to navigate and access their earned benefits. Whereas our local recruiters, like Marine Station Commander Staff Sergeant Spencer Northcutt, along with Sergeant Jonathan Lopez, who provide an esprit de corps at activities across Rutherford County. Whereas retirees who continue to serve a second career with our youth in the ROTC programs, veterans like Chief Hopper of Blackman High School and Major Jones of Smyrna High School. Whereas organizations like American Legion Post 288, represented by Post Commander Patricia Bruce, provides avenues for our local veterans to continue to serve their friends and neighbors in this community, because service is a continued calling to most, even when their first watch has been completed. Whereas senior citizens, such as Joe Burchell, a retired staff sergeant from the Tennessee Army National Guard, or former Army Private First Class John Hardwick, and retired Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant Troy Goodsby Jr., aid our community with their experiences, discipline, and weekly Bible studies. Whereas past heroes that time has taken when no enemy could. Veterans like First Lieutenant Keithlin Duke Durkee, who served during Vietnam with Bravo Company, 439th Infantry, 9th Infantry Division, where he was awarded medals such as Silver Star, the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, the Air Medal for 25 air assaults in combat, and numerous more. Or Dr. Alvin Singh, who served in Vietnam as a captain and Special Forces medic with 101st Airborne, earning numerous awards, including the Bronze Star. Dr. Singh then continued to serve here in Murfreesboro as an OB-GYN and is credited for delivering over 10,000 babies here in our community, and is best remembered as a Renaissance man, a husband, a father, a friend, a son, a soldier, an educator, and a doctor. Now, therefore, the Rutherford County Commission do hereby recognize these and all our veterans as a backbone and pillar of our Rutherford County. We encourage all citizens to stand in salute to honor these keepers and providers of freedom, regardless of branch, rank, length of service, whether during peacetime or in conflict, of active duty or reserve duty, our veterans. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Joshua, if it's okay with you, starting at this end, introduce yourself.
Troy Edward Goodspeed Jr., retired Master Sergeant, United States Marine Corps. And I'm really glad to be not only where I was born in Oklahoma, but I'll tell you, it's hard for anyone that's that's been out of the South to know how good people are in the South. Good people. It's just, as far as I'm concerned, it's like coming home. And I want to thank everybody for their gracious and their instructions and their help since I've been out here. I'll tell you, this is a wonderful country with a bunch of wonderful people in it. And I'm so glad to be here at 86 years old. Thank you all very much, from the heart, very much.
I am Staff Sergeant Northcutt. My first name is Spencer. I'm your Marine Corps representative here in Rutherford County. I'm originally from Davidson County. I was born over in Nashville. Been here about a year and a half, but it's been an honor so far, and I still got another at least 2 years out here with any of you. So please feel free to reach out. We're here to not just serve our country overseas. We're here to serve in the community as well. So thanks for y'all's time tonight.
Good evening. I am retired Sergeant First Class Patricia Bruce, active Army National Guard, and I'm also the post commander of American Legion Post 288 in Smyrna, who I love being with. I love working with the soldiers. I love working with the veterans. I love working with people in general. So if you ever need a veterans home, we don't really have a home, but we actually have a place that we actually meet, we gather. We're having a Thanksgiving feast next Saturday. It's going to be at the Volunteer Fire Department. Veterans, you all are welcome. It's at 11 to 2, and it's a volunteer, Almaville Volunteer Fire Department in Smyrna. Thank you again.
My name's Chad Talley. I served in the Air Force active duty in Tennessee Air National Guard in Iraq, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia. And I'm here tonight because of Lieutenant Durkee, who was a very good friend of mine. And I'm glad that he was honored tonight. Thank you.
Roy Chilson, the sergeant, Vietnam veteran, 69 and 70. I'm also here for Keithlin Durkee.
Michael Ezel, United States Army, private, also here for Keith Durkee.
I'm Private First Class John Hardwick, Vietnam veteran, 1963 to 65.
Dr. Andrew Hazley, United States Air Force, doctor here since 1991, and I'm here to also to represent Dr. Alvin Singh.
Hello, Tarika Dean, daughter of Dr. Alvin Singh, and I want to tell everybody thank you for this, and thank you to all the veterans for their service.
Alexis Dean, I'm also here to represent Dr. Alvin Singh.
Alicia Hazley, and I'm here for Dr. Singh and all the veterans. Thank you.
Alvin Singh, I'm the son of Dr. Singh, here, and thank you for the service for the veterans and everyone that worked.
Major retired James Jones, U.S. Army Field Artillery and JRTC instructor at Smyrna High School.
Eric Hopper, retired CW3, United States Army. Special thank you, Mr. James, for doing this. This is great. I mean, I've been around a lot of places, and there's no county I've seen do this before. So thank you, and a big thank you to the spouses, my wife Athena, and all the spouses who endure this. And for my Blackman people, go Blaze.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow commissioners, remember that this is just a sampling of what our county really has to offer from our veterans. Thank you.
Anthony Johnson served in the Army 71 to 73, Specialist 4th Class, Air Defense.
I guess I should say mine, huh?
Mike went that way. Thank you.
I guess.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for your service to our country. You're very special.
I didn't think to say mine. Sergeant James, United States Army, then Tennessee National Guard, and now Army Reserves. Still serving. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. John, go ahead.
Thank you. Item G, resolution recognizing Burnett and Rather. Commissioner Pettis Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll ask that Detectives Thomas Burnett and Christian Rather come forward at this time.
Pettis. Pettis. I've got it. This goes to them.
Stand right here. Resolution of recognition of the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office Detectives Thomas Burnett and Christian Rather. Whereas of the morning of July 12, 2025, 22-year-old Noah Taylor lost his life while driving to work in Nashville. Noah was shot multiple times near the Walden Road exit of Interstate 24 West. Rutherford County Sheriff's Office detectives Thomas Burnett and Christian Rather were assigned the case and began working diligently. When Burnett and Rather met with Katrina Leonard, Taylor's mother, they made a promise to do everything could to find her son's killer and return to her Noah's Bible, which was in his vehicle at the time of the incident, so he would be laid to rest with it. Whereas a team of more than 12 detectives spent the next several days gathering and going through hundreds of hours of worth of video footage. The video footage was collected from stationary cameras, closed-circuit cameras from businesses, footage from tractor trailers, private citizens from their personal vehicles. Whereas, as the Burnett and Rather began to narrow down evidence, they were able to focus on a possible suspect vehicle. The possible suspect vehicle made initial contact with Noah Taylor in Smyrna, Tennessee, near the Amilville Road on I-24. They were able to backtrack footage and learn the suspect's vehicle was possibly related to the area. They began canvassing the suspect area and were able to locate the suspect vehicle. Whereas, when Burnett and Rather received the evidence back from the TBI, they were shocked to learn that the one thing Noah's mother wanted from the vehicle was undamaged. The truck Noah drove had been shot multiple times, careened through multiple lanes of traffic, crashed in heavy wooded areas, but Noah's Bible was unblemished. Whereas on the morning of July 18, 2025, after 6 continuous exhausting days, Burnett and Rather had enough evidence to make an arrest on Latasha McGowan, 40, and Glenn Branson, 41, of Smyrna, Tennessee. A coordinated effort with the SWAT team, Narcotics Unit, and Criminal Investigation Division led to the arrest. During a search warrant executed at the suspect's residence, the murder weapon was recovered. Both McGowan and Branson were awaited trial while being housed at the Rutherford County Adult Detention Center. Whereas, with less than 1 hour to spare before Noah's funeral, Detectives Burnett and Rather were able to give Taylor's Bible to his mother and relay the news that they had made an arrest in the case. Whereas the compassion, tenacity, and the dedication Detectives Burnett and Rather were displayed are to be commended and should be looked upon as an example of how law enforcement and a community can come together, support one another, and help each other make the world a better and safer place. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners, at its regular session on the 13th day of November 2025, does hereby express its recognition of gratitude to these 2 detectives, Burnett and Rather, for an outstanding performance of law enforcement protecting the citizens of Rutherford County. Mr. Chairman, I move for this resolution's approval.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Just real quick, I can't say enough about the team of people that supported Detective Rather and I during this investigation. That Saturday morning when we got the phone call, there were a lot of people who came together and poured their heart and soul into this for 6 days until we were able to make an arrest. It meant a lot to me to have the support of the team that I did so that I could make that happen for Ms. Leonard. You want to say anything?
No,
okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
This is yours. Thank you. Here's the copy I read. Y'all want that in the case? Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have a getting to know. Call on our Chairman Pro Tem, Trey Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues and members of our community. One of the most important aspects of government that we really don't think about is preservation of records and historical documents. Back during the days of Alan McAdoo, he just threw files in the filing cabinet and fire, burn them up, and we have nothing. But today, preservation of records is more of an exact science. And tonight I would like to introduce us to Dr. John Lodl, who is our archivist. John is originally from Nashville, but has called Rutherford County home since 1994. He has 3 degrees from MTSU, an undergraduate degree in music industry, 1998, a master's degree in public history in 2004, and a PhD in public history 2024. He briefly served as a senior archivist at the State Archives of Georgia in Atlanta, that was in 2002, before moving back to Murfreesboro to serve as the first director of the Bradley Academy Museum and Cultural Arts Center, and later director of the Sam Davis Home. He has served as director of the Rutherford County Archives since 2006, as well as an adjunct professor of history at MTSU since 2004. His wife, Jennifer, is a kindergarten teacher at Smyrna Primary School, and they have 2 boys, Jude, who is 10, and Pierce, who is 16. Good luck with that one. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John.
How y'all doing? I want to thank Commissioner Gooch for calling me the other day and asking me to do this tonight. And I was going to start my presentation. We're going to keep it short because y'all got a full agenda tonight. But I was going to start by saying I'm just a humble servant of the county, a humble servant of the Lord. And after now realizing I'm behind the veterans and our local heroes, you better believe how humbled I am up here. But we queued up a little short video, 3-minute video that RCTV did about 3 years ago on one of the department spotlights for the archive. So I think Lee Harris is going to fire that up on the screen here. We're going to watch that and I'll follow with a few words. I'm John Lodl, Director of the Rutherford County Archives. Our main job is to keep the permanent records of Rutherford County government. And that's a large task since the county was formed in 1804 and we have all the records back that far. We have a lot of paper documents, bound volumes for all the courts and all the administrative files for this county. Equally important are the citizens' files. So we record, if you think about it, anything that comes through a county government office. So somebody gets married, somebody buys a piece of property, birth of a child, cemetery records, all that is kept here at the Rutherford County Archives. In addition to the preservation and making accessible the county government records, as a part of that, we work to preserve the records. So we do have a working lab here at the archives. We'll preserve historic documents, bound volumes, so they'll be preserved for future generations, and that's the physical hands-on work. So the cleaning, the deacidifying, the refoldering and reboxing of documents is an ongoing task of ours. In addition to maintaining the county government records, we also have the ability to work with citizens to preserve other pieces of local history. For example, we have a vast historic photograph collection. It started with what's known as the Shacklett's collection, and that's Shacklett's photography on the square. We were able to partner with them over a decade ago to preserve the rich collection of historical images that their father had collected. Once we started working on that collaborative, then that opened the door for the county archives to help save other images of all of our cities and towns in the county, as well as general county histories through historical images. As we move into the current age and move forward, we have all the records that are born digital, as we like to call them. So it's our task and goals to keep up with all the records on servers, digital files, and for all these records, we do a lot of microfilming. Over the years, we've collaborated with the Tennessee State Library and Archives in Nashville to accomplish that goal. But in recent years, we've had the beauty to work with the Register of Deeds office. We're happy to announce that we have a new collaborative between Rutherford County government and the local Rutherford County library system. We were able to bring the Linebaugh Library Research Room into the Rutherford County Archives building to provide a service to the citizens that wasn't here before, and that is a local library. So now the Rutherford County Library System has a librarian inside of our research room with collections of local history books and microfilm accessible to the general public. They can come here just like any of the branch libraries and do local research. It's a great collaborative between the library system and Rutherford County Archives because we serve a lot of the same citizens who are trying to do genealogy or local historical research. We're also happy that Rutherford County has opened the new county museum on the first floor of the historic courthouse right there on the square. We were a team member on that project. We will continue to work on that project moving forward. The museum at the courthouse tells the entire history of this county, and we work in a capacity to provide historical images and historical documents and artifacts to go on exhibit to help tell our unique histories. So if anybody has artifacts, historic photographs, family documents that you think could be of historical nature, they're welcome to come by the Rutherford County Archives, give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll be glad to talk about those things with them.
All right. So most of y'all know about the history of the archives. We've been around since the 80s. I've been with the county for 20 years myself. And we've come a long way. Of course, we're blessed in this county to have our rich history, to have this, pre-Civil War court building. There's only 6 standing in the state of Tennessee out of 95 counties. So then we have our records back to 1804, which is unheard of for most county archives to be able to lay claim to that. So of course, you know me as the archivist, being one lover of history, obviously, and preserving our old records. But what most people don't realize is how much we do on legal records, contemporary records management for the county. It's my honor and privilege not to be a department of one, but to serve all departments of county government and our elected officials. So on any day of the week, we are pulling files. We are physically running court file to judicial building multiple times a day, to juvenile out on South Church multiple times a day, to other offices, county clerk, trustee's office, whoever, to make sure that the records of Rutherford County are accessible, quickly accessible to our citizens who we preserve these records for at the end, right? And so it's a really exciting job. In the past 5 years alone, I've been flabbergasted, if that's the word, on how quick the county's been growing, but how y'all have been supportive of the archives and of our departments and our records management countywide. In the past 5 years alone, we added on to the archives building, doubling the space of the archives, most importantly for records management of more contemporary and legal sensitive records of county government. We've grown from 1 employee, me, to 5 in recent years, which has been, you better believe, exciting to me. But we've been able to hire a records manager, a digital assets manager. I'll speak to that in a second. We've grown from 2 graduate students, a program that we've had since 1997 between MTSU and the county, where we fund and then train 2 graduate students out of the history department. I was proud to do that in the 90s myself. But we're up now to 4 students. And I will brag and boast in front of our county commissioners, especially if you're on budget and finance, that 2 of those I don't pay for. So MTSU has graciously given us 2 additional students. If you don't know me well enough, I'm really good at begging for free things. And then as we will always continue to preserve our historic records, we have moved forward just over these past 5 years to really working and figuring out the future of records management. Last year, we hired a digital assets manager or a digital archivist, Shelby. Over the past year, we've worked with Cody York, some of our elected officials, Lacey Kroll, Heather Dahlburn particularly, to figure out the future of what does records management look like when there is no paper. If you don't know this, but you should, most county offices are going to born digital and e-filing. So our courts no longer are producing paper files. We're not producing minute books. We're not producing tax books downstairs with Ted Beatty's office. Everything's going to born digital. So the paper records we have from 1804 is great, but how do we do that with digital files and keep those for the next 200 years?
So I'm happy to announce that we have figured that out. We'll be purchasing some digital asset management systems in the next months that you all have approved. And we're excited for the future of Rutherford County government because we're excited about the ability to preserve digital assets the way we need to, and honored and privileged to say we'll be one of the first counties in the state to do what we're doing here in Rutherford County, and we'll be a model for other counties, including larger counties around us, not to name any of them. So keep an eye on the Rutherford County Archives, keep an eye out for me in budget meetings and county commission meetings as we push all of us forward with our best records management we can do in this county. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, John. Most of the times when we have a getting to know, when the presenter ends, it's I didn't know that. So thank you, John. Next, it's past 6:30 and time for our public hearing. So we'll go to item M, items that are scheduled for public hearings, and I'll call on our planning director, Doug DeMasi, to get us through this process. Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We have two public hearings for your consideration tonight. The first is by Caleb Gentry. This is for property located at 3698 Shelbyville Pike. Property is currently zoned residential medium density, or RM. They're asking for commercial services, CS zoning, on a piece of property about 2.7 acres. The applicant would like to use the property as a fence business. He plans to construct a small office near the front of the property and use the back portion for material and equipment storage. There is a concept plan that has been included with your agenda packets on your iPads. Of course, this is not a plan development, but it does give you an idea of how they would like to develop the property and their intentions. This property, since it's along Shelbyville Pike, this is a federal/state road, so TDOT approval will be required for any new or improved access points. This would have to be demonstrated through an engineered site plan that would be submitted to our office should this application be approved. Our buffering and performance standards would also cover this particular property as well. There wasn't much discussion at this during the Planning Commission. The Commission did have some questions regarding the screening and the buffering of the property and if fencing would be required. We did explain the type of fences that would be acceptable to be used in a buffer situation. There were also questions about the septic soil and if the existing house would be used as rental property. The applicant stated, the representative stated that the client would possibly use it as an office, but not for any kind of rental purposes. Following these questions and the public hearing, the Planning Commission did recommend approval by a unanimous vote. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr. DeMasi at this time? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing open for item REZ 25-025, a rezoning request for Caleb Gentry. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Commissioner Cush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also sit on the Planning Commission and was one of the 11 members that voted in favor. I've had no calls for or against. I would make a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve item REZ 25-025. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Mr. DeMasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our second rezoning hearing tonight is for a planned unit development, a PUD amendment. This is by Ms. Stephanie Maka Himyari. This property is located at 1218 West Jefferson Pike. The amendment is to construct a ceremony chapel and addition of other activities on this property, which is about 7 acres in size. The original PUD for Maka Villa or Riverside Wedding Retreat was approved. It's an event venue, was approved by the Board of Commissioners back in November of 2022. Events at the facility include weddings, receptions, church functions, etc. The applicant also proposed to work with the Tennessee Historical Society and MTSU Center of Historical Preservation to provide historical tours of the property. A site plan was approved after the zoning was approved for the proposed wedding and reception barn and parking improvements during the March 27th, 2023 meeting of the Planning Commission. The final certificate of occupancy was granted back in January of 2024. This amendment entails an addition of a second building, which would be the ceremony chapel, to the property. This would be for wedding ceremonies, which would allow for indoor weddings should weather become an issue. Also dedicate the existing wedding barn for receptions, which would ease logistical concerns about having both a wedding and the reception in the same building. The applicant is also proposing to offer what they're terming as culinary classes or pop-up events, pizza pop-up events, on-site catering, and small events, which is described in the pattern book. I will say that we've had some further discussions with the applicant's representative who is here if you have questions. They're going to change the wording of the pattern book just a little bit to clarify the large events, which would be the weddings and different events, but then the smaller events, which would be these pizza pop-ups and everything, kind of like a catch-all for that. So again, we can discuss that in more detail if you'd like. The applicant has included a concept plan in the pattern book, which is on your iPads as well. The building will be constructed on the northern side of the property, about 2,000 to 2,500 square feet in size. This property already has an existing driveway onto West Jefferson Pike, which is not to be used for any events that was spoken about during the meeting. There's also a driveway onto Roanoke Drive, which has been approved and constructed as part of the original project regarding and also parking area. They're not proposing any changes to the access, parking, or anything like that with regard with this amendment. Should this application be approved, we would have to see an engineered site plan showing the improvements. And landscaping and performance standards, as I stated with the last application, would also remain. The Plan Commission did ask if the proposed building would have the same soundproofing specifications as the existing building. The applicant's representative, Matt Taylor with SEC, who was present, answered that it would. There was also some questions about the septic system on the property. Mr. Taylor answered that they had installed a new system with the first phase with the existing building and that everything was working fine. During the public hearing, there was one person that did speak regarding noise and traffic issues. There were a few others that spoke that didn't have any issues with the request. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission did ask to verify that there was no proposed increase in the number of attendees. Staff answered that that is correct, no change was being made. Commissioners also asked if building codes had received any complaints regarding the operation of the facility. Our codes director stated that they had not. Planning staff, myself, however, answered that we had received some complaints from some of the folks in the neighborhood after the notices went out and a sign on the property had been set up. There was also some discussion regarding those events and some clarification on the usage of the access points. I included a copy of the minutes from the Planning Commission's meeting in your agenda package just to give you a better idea of what that entailed. Following that discussion, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the request by a vote of 9-4 and 2 against. And again, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. DeMasi? Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing open for item REZ 25-024, a planned unit development for Stephanie Macca. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. I'll declare the public hearing back open.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the court, thank you for the opportunity to speak again on behalf of my friend, Stephanie Macca. Common sense and truth. What is the big problem for Miss Stephanie to build a chapel behind her venue? If you had a daughter who was having her wedding there, and it suddenly rained, as it often does in Tennessee, wouldn't you want a building to have the ceremony in? Common sense. You have already approved the number of attendees and vehicles which she can have, and she isn't asking for those numbers to be increased. Truth. I have only heard noise after a ceremony one time. Can the attendees not be happy for the couple and express their joy for them? This is so much better than roosters crowing, dogs barking, lawnmowers going, and chainsaws buzzing. As to traffic, attendees who are coming for a wedding are going into the venue and not traveling into the subdivision. They do not all arrive or leave at the same time, so there is not a traffic problem. Common sense. Thank you.
Could you give us your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Opal Gillum.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I live right across the street from the venue.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against this rezoning request? Please come forward. Three minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Oh, I don't need 3 minutes.
Name and address.
My name is Kay Stockton. I live in Roanoke subdivision. I live on Melbourne Drive, and I'm for it because I haven't had any problems with it, and I don't want townhouses and stuff built in our area. So I'm for it.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I'll declare the public hearing closed for item REZ 25-024, a PUD for Stephanie Macca. This time I'll call on Commissioner Steve Piercy.
Thank you, Chairman Phillips. I have a little to say about this situation. Back in 22, when this was first approved, I had a conflict of interest and stayed relatively quiet, had nothing to say about this subject because I owned a venue too. At this time, I do not. We have sold our venue and retired from that business. I would like to apologize for the neighbors in Roanoke that come up here that night. There were several that spoke out against this, and they felt like they were ignored. They did not come to this planning meeting because they have given up. I got many calls wondering what they could do, and they virtually give up. I watched the planning commission meeting on this the other night when it come across. There was a couple of commissioners had some real good questions about the traffic, which entrance they used, either on Roanoke or off of Jefferson Pike. There was thoughts of a gate being put up on Jefferson Pike where they couldn't use that. I didn't really feel like that would have been a good issue. People would have been backing out into Jefferson Pike. I'm not against your building the addition. I feel like that's one of the few things you can do to maybe relieve some of the pressure off of the Roanoke subdivision. Maybe most of the noise and activity can stay indoors. That's the only reason I will support it. The other situation she asked for at planning was pizza pop-ups and culinary class teaching. And I talked to Matt Taylor. He called me and asked me if I had any thoughts on the situation. And I asked him, I said, Matt, I said, we need to somehow fix this where it can expand beyond pizza pop-ups and teaching classes. It was asked to be an event venue, but of course that covers a lot of territory. There's more than weddings happen at an event venue, I know. It's been changed to small and large events, which I'm in agreement with that because that will keep it all in line with what was agreed to back in 22. There's been several complaints about the traffic situation, no traffic direction when an event is going on. They made the comment they hired people. Sometimes they didn't show up. I'm going to give you the thought that our Rutherford County Sheriff Department has a group that does that service, and I feel sure they will show up anytime you need them, because you're going to have to pay them. And they're very good at what they do because we have used them over the years. With that being said, I'm going to approve the addition of her building, the add-on structure, and the way the verbiage Doug has added to the plan of the small event and the large events. Something I would like to see happen when all this started. Now, they've done a world of work on their venue. It looks nice. It really does. But when they did, the old subdivision sign for the Roanoke subdivision is gone. If there's any way possible, I would like to see her reconstruct some type of sign similar to what they had in the beginning for the people that live in the Roanoke subdivision. Thank you. I will make the motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve item REZ 25-024, a PUD for Stephanie Macca. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Nay. Motion to approve carries. Thank you. Quick question. Matt, I see you out there. Can you follow up on the request? Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, sir. Mr. DeMasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring something to y'all's attention. You probably saw the hard copy of Plan Rutherford on your tables. I believe I had enough copies for everybody. Thank you to Commissioner Reed for helping me pass those out. I didn't know paper could get that heavy, carrying it from across the street over here. But everybody's got a hard copy of that. This is the adopted copy by the Planning Commission. You'll recall last month we discussed that this is going to be brought up to the County Commission on a special meeting in January of next year, 2026, January the 22nd, 2026. I wanted to make sure everybody had a hard copy of this. Feel free to look at that. If you have questions, let me know. I'll be more than happy to sit down and talk with you about it. But I just wanted to call your attention to that. So with that, I probably won't see most of you before Thanksgiving, so I hope everybody has a happy and safe Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. DeMasi. Next, it's a little unusual. Been up here a long time, and I don't know if I've ever seen this before. We've got a public hearing that doesn't come through our planning department. It's a resolution adopting a program called CPASSER, Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy and Resiliency Program for Rutherford County. And I'm going to call on Nick Christensen, our county attorney, and I believe Tab Beatty's here, our county trustee. Tab, if you would come up and you guys do your thing, explaining what this is.
Well, Mr. Beatty is coming up, I can just kick us off. So last month, the County Commission passed a resolution reflecting their intention to adopt what's called a CPASSER program. It is a program that allows for private financing to occur with new developments predicated upon energy efficiency and other sort of measures that can be taken to reduce waste and improve efficiency with regard to utilities, et cetera, within the development. How it typically works is the developer will go to a capital provider, otherwise known as a lender, and they will negotiate the financing. The county serves as basically an administrator of the program. This is at no cost to the county. It is at no liability to the county. So once the financing is reached, it comes and is approved by the county in the way of an assessment lien that is acts as such, similar to any other taxes or other liens that a governmental entity may be able to impose on a piece of property. It runs with the land, and it's a way to get lower rates of interest on financing because of the developer's commitment to do cost and other efficiency reduction measures in building their development. This is a newer program that Tennessee has started over the last probably, 5 to 10 years. It's widely used in other states, and Tennessee passed a very similar law as to other states in the last 5 or 10 years. Earlier this year, the county did an RFP through its purchasing committee for a third-party administrator because, frankly, it was going to be an administrative sort of headache and burden for TEB or the mayor's office to administer this program. So we have hired somebody for that at no cost to the county. Their fees are passed on through the lending process done by the developer and the private lender. and we've been in constant communication with them. They will be administering this program, developing all the forms and the agreements that come with them. I've been in collaboration with them on all of that. The law requires that we do what we did last month with the intention resolution, and then now have a public hearing if there's any member of the public that wants to speak on this, and assuming that the commission desires to pass this, it would adopt this resolution, and the county would have a CPACER program here.
Tab?
Mr. Christian's done a great job. I would entertain any questions, but I think you've done a good job, Nick.
Any questions for either Nick or Tab, either one? Any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Sir, Commissioner Cush.
question for either one of you, Tab or Nick. I'm unfamiliar, so I'm going to ask some simple questions to try and get some clarification. Would this entail different types of building materials that may be more energy efficient or made out of some recycled materials? Would they get a better preference of choice? How does that work?
Go ahead, Ted.
It is for efficiency, resiliency, saving water. There are things in the law that are required, and they're able to be financed then by this third-party financer. The county doesn't do that, but they are efficiencies and energy saving and water saving, and they're above what we require in codes. So so it's promoting efficiency and resiliency, and I'm not sure all that's in that, but there's a strict requirement on what qualifies and what doesn't. And so they have to do those qualifying items to receive this financing.
So nothing would conflict or be counterproductive with the current Southern Building Code that we would have to?
No.
They have to meet all of those.
And this is yes, correct. They have to meet the minimum code requirements, and this is a voluntary program that the developer, because they're going to be expending probably more money on these qualified improvements, but they're getting it on the back end with a lower interest rate through the private lender.
Okay.
And the law does define what constitutes a qualified improvement and a qualified project, and the administrator that we've hired will be looking at the application packet from the developer to make sure they meet all the technical requirements to be a qualified project.
So how does this differ from like a LEEDS, if you're familiar with like a LEEDS project? Is it a similar path where an architect, a builder builds a LEEDS project that has so much energy efficient points that they have to earn to get LEEDS credits? Is it a similar type of a program?
I'm not sure.
I'm not as familiar with LEEDS. We've got Mr. Jones, who's here, who is the gentleman with the company who is going to be our third-party administrator. Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, he has much more experience with that and may be better able to answer that question.
Without objection, certainly. Come forward, please.
This is Chris Jones. But I'm not familiar with LEEDS, but
okay.
these are items that qualify above our codes for financing, and they have to show that those have been done. But as far as how that works,
here's my real question that concerns me, and then you can pontificate on whether I have false concerns. If materials are made, let's say structural materials, any kind of a building material, that perhaps is made out of a high percentage of recycled materials, that you would think, oh boy, hey, this is pretty cool, they're using recycled materials. But that product may not have the strength that a conventional product may have. Does that recycled material, because it's got content, get a higher preference, and consequently the developer can get a loan for, I'm not sure how the economics works, but I don't want inferior products just because they may, quote, hit the green list, have a leg up on a more structural component is what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, so a couple answers there. So, number one, again, the building system, so let's just take the building shell or the envelope, it has to be above current code. So whatever the material is, there is an energy audit that is produced by a professional engineer who stamps that to say that it is above energy code. And so that could consist of, many materials, but the materials, do have to be, a registered, listed, type of material. So there's going to be, materials all across in whatever sectors. Also, to answer your question, kind of back to the LEED. So with regards to the LEED certification, that really kind of takes a spectrum of consideration. So like as an example, there are points for if the building is, on a bus line, that reduces transport, but this is really more focused to the building specific itself on the energy savings and water savings and renewable energy. So it is really isolated to the building. And obviously the LEED does have energy savings and water savings points and components. So someone who is looking to do a LEED certified building, they would pretty much qualify in most cases for, an above code building.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. One last question. Does it just pertain to the finished building product, or does the actual manufacturing of the product come into play? For instance, if it's a product that saves less, if it takes less water to manufacture product A versus product B, but both do the same and they're equal alternates, does the one that has a less water use get a preferential treatment?
Well, that's a great question, just from a high level standpoint on, from start to finish. You mine something out of the ground and turn it into the finished product, I think is your answer. Yeah, there's really no classification on, how much energy was actually used to produce that product versus, another product. Yeah, it is all really kind of based on the energy code that is in existence, and then what the professional energy engineer does state that it is above code.
Okay. So if I heard your answer correctly, the actual manufacturing process doesn't really come into play.
It does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you. Stay close in case there is. We need to conduct a public hearing, so at this time I'll declare the public hearing open for a resolution adopting commercial property assessed clean energy and resiliency CPACER program for Rutherford County. Anyone wishing to speak for or against or on behalf of this rezoning, of this request, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have a resolution. Nick, would you like to read the first?
Yeah. The resolution is on SharePoint. It is quite long, and I'll just read the very first part. Whereas pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 68-205-101 et sec, as amended, known as the CPACER Act, the state legislature granted local governments the authority to establish a commercial property assessed clean energy and resiliency program the jurisdictions can voluntarily implement to ensure that free and willing owners of agricultural, commercial, and industrial properties and certain multifamily residential properties can obtain low-cost, long-term financing. And whereas the CPACER Act allows this financing to be used for qualifying improvements, including energy efficiency, water conservation, renewable energy, and resiliency measures, such as a flood mitigation, stormwater management, wildfire and wind resistance, energy storage, microgrids, and fire suppression. And whereas the CPACER program, authorized in the CPACER Act, promotes voluntary energy efficiency, energy conservation, and resiliency, and such improvements not only save money for building owners, but also support the reduction of energy consumption, support the production of clean, renewable energy, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And whereas the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners has on this date, at this meeting, considered the matter at a duly advertised public hearing and concludes that adoption will further the public health, safety, and welfare. So you need a motion from the Commissioner.
The motion, in essence, would be now therefore be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners at its regularly scheduled meeting on the 13th day of November, and does hereby approve the resolution, and furthermore authorizes the county mayor to execute all necessary documents to fulfill the intentions of the resolution. Have a motion to approve. And a second. Any discussion? Roll call. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Yes. Motion to approve. I'm sorry, did you have something? Anyone have something? I thought I heard somebody. I voted yes. Okay. Once again, motion to approve. Everyone say again. Motion to approve. We have a motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposition? Yes. Let the record show we have one in opposition. Whew. Moving along. Item I on our agenda is public comments. We've had 11 individuals sign up for public comments tonight. That would put us over our limit, but only by one. So without exception, I'll allow all of these individuals that sign up have the opportunity to speak, but we're going to do it a little differently so we won't run over our 30 minutes. I'm going to call two names. The first one come up and begin their presentation. The second one be up here on deck and ready to go. And if we're not ready to go, then we're going to pass you over. We need to move quickly. Once again, when I call your name, if you would, please come forward, and you have 3 minutes and 3 minutes only. First is Amanda Hernandez. It appears that her topic is 287G. On deck is Pamela Jones.
Okay, I promise I will try to make this quick. Thank you to the chair and the commission for this time. I have done some rather extensive research into the 287G WSO agreement, as well as the 287G agreement period. I brought with me a stack of highlighted and annotated documents tonight, which includes the full text of the MOA signed by the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, budget amendment requests from the Sheriff's Department, and facts and figures for the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program. During the August 25th Safety Committee meeting, Sheriff Fitzhugh asserted that he had not signed anything, nor did he know where we were getting our, quote, misinformation, quote, from. As shown on the signature page of the 287G MOA, page 7, the sheriff had signed on to the negotiated terms of the agreement on August the 8th. As previously stated in public reports, the county jail is already overcrowded because we house prisoners from the state. Now we're going to hold people for DHS who haven't even been convicted of a crime. The program that the sheriff applied for to try and request reimbursement requires that the detainee or detainees they are attempting to be reimbursed for must either be convicted of a felony or 2 misdemeanors, as well as be held for 4 or more days in the jail. That's quite a threshold to meet. Given the law enforcement agency is responsible for the payment of salaries and overtime for officers and DHS training, as well as any equipment necessary to execute the program, as outlined in Section 4, subsection E of the MOA, how does this not result in tax increases for residents when the department inevitably asks for money from the general fund to meet its increased expenses? The Sheriff's Department is short-staffed and frequently requests officers work overtime. How do you justify increasing overtime even more to send officers to training as outlined in this agreement? Not just from the perspective of increased taxpayer costs, but as a matter of public safety when you put a firearm in the hand of an overworked officer with impaired judgment due to fatigue. While those deputized by ICE may have immunity for those specific duties, it is still possible for individual officers to be held liable for constitutional rights violations. There is so much more from my research, but I only have the time allotted to me, so I will end with this. Given the smooth wordplay, false assertions, and questionable ethics of other departments in this county in the past and recently, how can I or others like me be expected to believe that this department is here for my safety or the safety of our black and brown peers? The sight of an officer when you are in trouble should instill a feeling of safety and ease, not fear. End this agreement and stop the authoritarian terror in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. On deck is Tatana Savalas, and next is Pamela Jones, topic 287G.
Hello, my name is Pamela Jones. I live in District 20. The commissioners here might remember me from last month's meeting, where I described the events we currently see unfolding with ICE agents across the country, and how, as a Jewish person, they're reminiscent to me of the events that preceded the Holocaust. Well, I'm sure you all balked at such comparisons then, as you do now. I can't say my opinion has changed. In fact, it's only been solidified. The 287G agreement, which allows ICE to partner with our local law enforcement, does not make me feel safe as a Rutherford County resident. It does the direct opposite. It puts us at daily risk of harassment and even assault from masked men who are not accountable to us. Sheriff Fitzhugh stated on August 8th, August 25th, just a few months ago, in this very courthouse where I'm currently standing, that he never signed any new contract with ICE, that the public is operating off of misinformation, and that this is the same contract they've had since 1996. So perhaps the sticking point here for him may be the particular verbiage that was used then, because on August 8th of that same month, just a couple of weeks before making that statement in front of his community, he certainly signed something new with ICE, that something being the 287G agreement. His signature can be found amongst ICE's own website of participating agencies, which again was signed on August 8th, 2025, not 1996. This is aside the fact that ICE as an agency did not exist until 2003. So contract agreement, I'm not really sure if the exact term matters within this context. And so now to me, as a concerned citizen, this begs the question, if the 287G agreement is simply an age-old harmless streamline of dangerous criminals to where they belong, why did Sheriff Fitzhugh feel the need to lie? Or at the very least obfuscate the very nature of its new existence with his office? And that further begs the question, why do the commissioners in this room seem to not think it's their responsibility to follow up on these discrepancies on behalf of the communities that they represent? I'm frankly, to put it politely as I can, unimpressed with a lot of you. If this is how you choose to represent your communities, I can't imagine they have much pride. I will be here every month, like a fly in your ear, to remind you of these facts. If you care at all to change this, you know what to do. End the 287G agreement. Thank you for your time.
Next is Tatana Savalas, and on deck is Violet Walter.
Good evening. My name is Tatiana Silvas, and I live at 715 North Spring Street. What were you all doing last Saturday? Perhaps you were bundling up for the cold weather, spending time with family, maybe you were doing yard work. Last Saturday, Hunter Dempster and the folks from Memphis Indivisible received a very different kind of call, a call from a terrorized young immigrant family. They were hiding in a closet in their own home. Close to 100 ICE agents broke into their home without a warrant. They threw tear gas canisters into the living room. They dragged the father and mother out with their twin babies. In the video on Facebook, you can see one of the babies in just a t-shirt and a diaper, not even a blanket. Their mother was released with an ankle monitor, her body covered in bruises from being handled so roughly. The father was taken into custody and placed in jail, a jail where 3 men have died in the last 9 days due to a lack of medical care. She now relies on donations from the local immigrant food pantry to feed her children. And all of this happened on the eve of her twins' first birthday. This is not an isolated incident. This is a preview of what 287G enforcement will bring to Rutherford County. When ICE detains parents, children don't just disappear. They don't vanish into thin air. They become the state's responsibility. Our already overwhelmed foster care system cannot absorb this influx. More than 8,000 children are in Tennessee's foster care system right now. 70 to 80% of those youth who age out face homelessness, addiction, imprisonment, or trafficking by the age of 21. Currently, there are 220,000 children in Tennessee who are part of immigrant families. That's 1 in 7 children. And each one could face the same terror that those twins experienced. Here's the critical connection. If just 3% of those immigrant families end up in foster care because their parents are detained or deported, just 3%, that would nearly double our current foster care population overnight. Those twins I mentioned, they could be among them. In sum, a 287G contract will create more scenes like we saw last Saturday. Terrorized children, broken families, a foster care system pushed beyond breaking point. Sheriff Fitzhugh, we must prioritize the welfare of all children in our community and cancel the 287G contract. Thank you.
Next is Violet Walther. Her topic is 287G, and on deck is Adam Miller.
Thank you, Chairman and Board, for my time. My name is Violet. I live at 3405 Meadow Hill Drive, District 2. On August 8th, Sheriff Fitzhugh signed the 287G agreement, allowing deputies to execute ICE warrants within the county jail. Fitzhugh has the option to withdraw from this agreement. As members of our community face threat from immigration enforcement, Sheriff Fitzhugh is sitting back and lining his pockets. How many families have you separated, Sheriff Fitzhugh? How many people are being denied their right to due process? Where are these people going? I'm here to be a voice for those silenced. Rutherford County residents want nothing to do with ICE. We want ICE out of Rutherford County now. I will be here every month to tell you this. Sheriff Fitzhugh, stop being complicit in the violation and harassment of our immigrant community. Withdraw from 287G now. Thank you.
Next is Adam Miller. Topic is 287G, and on deck is Jason Bennett.
My name is Adam Miller. I live at 212 Valleydale Street in Smyrna. Over the last couple of months, as everyone has gotten up here and talked about this agreement that the sheriff has made with Homeland Security and with ICE, they've spoken repeatedly about how this decision has not been the Christian decision. And it was clear that as they were talking that these people have never read a Bible and that they're cherry-picking verses to try to support their position. So as a Christian who has taken the time to read the Bible, I'd like to show you a few verses and what the Bible says in context for immigration. First of all, in John chapter 14, in verse number 6, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes unto the Father but by me. Jesus clearly stated that he is the only way to get to heaven. He is the only door through which we can go through. Secondly, in Revelation chapter 21 and 22, we're given a very clear description of what the New Jerusalem in heaven looks like. We're told that the city is surrounded by high walls that are made of jasper, that there are 12 giant gates on those walls, each made from a pearl, and the foundations of the wall are secured by 12 layers thick, with each layer being made from different precious gems or stones. And third, Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 7 that there will be a day when a group of people will try to enter into heaven and show Jesus their good works that they've done. And on that day in Matthew chapter 7 and verse 23, Jesus will tell them, I never knew you, depart from me. So from these verses, in context in the scripture, we can gather that heaven has a wall, heaven has an extremely strict immigration policy, and there's only one door that people can enter into. And there is coming a day when there will be a massive deportation event to cast out all that try to improperly enter. So therefore, the actual Christian position on immigration would be to do exactly what you're doing now, which is to enforce our immigration laws. Commissioners, Sheriff, I want to encourage you that for every one whiny child that protests, there are 10 or more adults that are supporting you in your decision. We thank you for making the decision that you did to keep us safe, and just know we got your six, and we're praying for you. God bless you, God bless America, and may God continue to bless and protect his nation, Israel.
Next is Jason Bennett. His topic is ethics, and on deck is Wonderland Rogers.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Bennett. I live in District 20. I want to begin by saying that my prayers are with Mayor Carr and his family, and they have been since Tuesday afternoon when I found out. I come before you tonight not as a neutral observer, but as a well-documented progressive liberal with a long history of opposing landfill expansion in Rutherford County, and I say that clearly and upfront, not because my politics are the point tonight, but because transparency matters. With an election approaching next August and two individuals already slated to run, I want to be crystal clear. I'm not here to support one Republican over another Republican. I'm here to speak about ethics, not elections. This Monday, I filed a formal ethics complaint against Mayor Carr. The complaint outlines serious concerns that I believe warrant immediate attention. These include the use of county property and personnel for private business purposes, attempts to influence a commissioner ahead of a quasi-judicial ethics hearing, and the coordination of a politically motivated smear campaign using county resources. Within hours of filing that complaint, a county employee contacted my employer. I want to be very clear, I'm not here to assign motive to that. I sincerely hope there was nothing nefarious behind that outreach, but given the timing, the optics are troubling, and troubling optics deserve scrutiny. In fact, that kind of contact, targeted, inappropriate, and timed around a formal complaint, is precisely the type of behavior described in the complaint itself. It's literally in the complaint. This moment also demands that we speak about the unfair and unjustified targeting of Rob Mitchell and his office. There are far too many questionable coincidences in the relationships between county leadership and the state comptroller's office. Mischaracterizations have been repeated, truth has been stretched, and the public deserves to know why. The TBI's inquiry into Rob is ongoing, but it cannot be the only lens. There must be a broader investigation into the political dynamics and institutional relationships that have enabled this pattern of targeting, because when accountability is selective, it's not accountability, it's control. This is not about perception, it's about public trust, and given the inherent conflicts involved, I'm urging this commission to support a swift, independent investigation. External oversight is not optional, it's essential. We cannot afford to let ambiguity erode confidence. We cannot allow proximity to power to shield potential misconduct, and we cannot allow the ethics process itself to become a political weapon. I want to close by thanking the Ethics Committee for their continued service and diligence. I know this work is difficult and often thankless, but it matters deeply, and I thank this commission for your time tonight and for your commitment to ensuring that the people of Rutherford County can trust those elected to serve them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Wonderland Rogers. The topic is 287G, and on deck is Chip McCoy.
Hey guys, my name is Wonderland Rogers, and I live at 1540 Place, Las Casas Pike. And the law should never come to be in violation of the human rights it should protect. Undocumented immigrants' rights, as laid out in the Constitution, are worth protecting. I know there are people on this commission who don't believe in human rights, which goes directly against the theocracy they are trying to create. If Jesus were here and he were a worse man, he'd be spitting on you, and you'd lock him up because he's a brown foreigner. Stop listening to the man in the pulpit and start using your heart and your brain. Wake up and realize that your constituents, your neighbors, are more important than your face on a poster or your name on a park sign. And if you can't do that, at least follow the commandments that you haven't taken down yet despite being told to do so. We all see that you support theft from the general public with the places you choose to put your money, and clearly lie since you've yet to take down the commandments. The murder and disappearances of immigrants also seem to not be a stain on your conscience. So pick a side. Will you be true to the rules of the theocracy you're trying to create and get rid of 287G so you can love thy neighbor and prevent more deaths and disappearances? Or will you be hypocrites wasting the time of your God and mine? Your choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Chip McCoy. Topic is 287G, and on deck is Ashley Berg.
My name is Chip McCoy, and I belong to District 7 of the greatest county of this great state of Tennessee. Commissioners, just a moment of encouragement. It's about to be Thanksgiving, and my wife of 33 honeymoons and I want to encourage you. Thank you for your sacrifice and your dedication to our community. The problem of immigration was not caused by you. There was a federal administration who seduced millions of people, some well-meaning and some not so well-meaning, to get in an app and become a contributor of our American culture. And we don't build societies through apps. So now we are dealing with how do we govern ourselves with such a large influx of people, and it's a very complex and it's very difficult problem for us to solve. And there's not just one way to solve it. Some of the people that came up already have a legitimate voice, and others also have a legitimate voice. There are three sides to every coin. On one side, we are Tennesseans and we follow the law. If we do that which is right in our own eyes, well, the Holy Scriptures do show us what happens to those societies. We must follow the law. At the same time, there's legitimate, innocent children, families, who are getting caught up in how we deal with that problem. So, I say we take the rare side of the coin. On one side, we continue to follow the law. That is my recommendation. But we also seek to find laws that will allow us to patriate some of our people that have shown that they really truly want to be part of our American culture. I am a born-again follower of Jesus Christ, and if I believe that he can wash my sin with his blood with a simple, honest prayer of faith, I also believe that he can give us wisdom on how we govern ourselves in such a time as this. No matter what, we are Tennesseans together, and we have your back. Thank you. Merry Christmas and happy Thanksgiving.
Up next is Ashley Benkarski, and her topic is 287G, and on deck is Alex Sager.
Okay. Hey, y'all. My name is Ashley Benkarski. I'm almost all my life resident of not Warren County, but here in Rutherford County. I live over on Richmond Avenue. Time and time again, the decisions and actions of those who hold power too often come at the expense of the most vulnerable and dispossessed among us. So I ask, what is the cost of the 287G agreement to the county? The moral cost is immeasurable. But since so many see it as one of just economic concern, I ask this: if the county is holding an inmate to turn over to ICE, is the county absorbing that cost or being reimbursed for that cost, or is it profiting from the agreement in any way? Who stands to benefit from this agreement? Certainly not the people of Rutherford County. I want answers, and I want to know what our elected officials are going to do to provide those answers. I would ask you, my friends and neighbors, to keep putting pressure on this commission and others with power and influence in this county to shift its focus from becoming another Franklin to serving and protecting everyone in the county, especially the marginalized, because what's going on right now just doesn't feel right.
Thank you. Up now is Alex Sager, and on deck is Anna DeWitt.
Thank you. My name is Alex Sager. I live at 463 Evergreen Street. And I wanted to address something a couple speakers ago. He said something, the dichotomy of citizen versus non-citizen. Like, there are people who have gone through the process. They've been picked up at immigration offices and disappeared. Folks who have been citizens on paper for decades that are getting disappeared violently from their families, from the street. It's an endless list of violences committed against human beings. So I wanted to just reiterate what's been said in the past, which is, Sheriff Fitzhugh, you can't morally or ethically separate yourself from the actions that ICE is committing nationwide, and while having an agreement like this. It's immoral, unethical, anti-Christ, it's wrong. So thank you. That's all I had to say, and the agreement.
Thank you. Last is Anna DeWitt.
Good evening. My name is Anna Karina Lorenzana DeWitt. I live at 37128. That is my zip code. I am a public health student at MTSU, and one of the things we prioritize in health is trust. And I have to say, as I said last time that I spoke, I have no trust in this community. I have no trust in this committee. I would appreciate that, as I am giving you all my time, that you all give me your attention and your time back. Here's the thing. Many of these people who are going to be detained and deported are innocent people. They have committed no real crime except to be in this country and American soil. And honestly, there is no trust between these people and the community of Rutherford County and our local committee or our local law enforcement. So I want you to ask yourselves, what are you doing to earn the trust of these people? You have lied to us about the value of our properties. Sheriff Fitzhugh lied to us about not signing the contract. He lied to all of you about not signing the contract, and he went and did it anyway. So I am asking, I am pleading, and I am begging with all of my heart and all of my soul. You still have the power to stop this. You still have the power to prevent from families being torn apart. you still have the power to help save the lives of innocent people like Alejandro Guizar, someone who was a DACA recipient, who was detained, is now being scheduled to be deported for no crime other than being a non-citizen of this country, even though there is no clear pathway to citizenship. What was Guizar supposed to do? What did Guizar do wrong by all of you? How am I supposed to trust anyone in my local community? I live in fear. I am afraid. I'm afraid to leave my house. I'm afraid for my family, my community members, my congregation, my neighbors, my friends. And I cannot tell them in honest faith that I am proud to live here because there is no trust in my community. There's no trust between me and the members of my committee or my representatives. There is no trust, but you still have the power to earn that trust back. And I would like to thank you, Commissioner Hope Oliver, because I can trust her. And I would like to thank you, Phil Dodd, as a fellow member of the St. Rose Parish, for having a heart, for doing what's right, even if it's difficult, even if it's costly, for being able to earn my trust back. But I would like to be able to trust all of you. I would like to feel safe in my home again. I would like to trust my committee again. So please, cancel this contract. Cancel the 287G contract if you care about your constituents. Thank you for your time.
That brings us to an end of our public comments. I'd like to thank you for your participation in local government. Next up on our agenda is item J, elections and confirmations. I'll call on our steering vice chair, Commissioner Pettis Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Elections and confirmations. Number one, electing of notaries. There's a listing of notaries may be found on your iPads, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, I move to confirm the election of these individuals as Rutherford County notaries.
I have a motion and a second to accept the list of notaries. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you.
Item two, steering would like to confirm the reappointment of Amber Brown to the Board of Zoning Appeals. This is a 5-year term to begin October 2025 and continue until October 2030. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second to reappoint Amber Brown to the BZA. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you.
Item three, steering wishes to announce 2 vacancies on the Correctional Work Center Board. This will be a 2-year term to begin January 2026, continuing until January 2028. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the business of elections and confirmations.
Thank you. Item K, resolution to approve our consent agenda. Chairman Pro Tem Trey Gooch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, I have reviewed the consent agenda, find everything to be appropriate, so I'll move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our consent agenda. Any questions? For this, commissioners will be on the board. If you would, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes.
Motion passes. Item N, we're getting into reports of our standing committees. First up is Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Chairman Robert P.
Good evening, everyone. First order of business is item A, amend the amended and restated resolution regarding the economic impact plan for the Keystone Development Area. This has been seen and actually voted on by the commission at our last meeting and passed. The only changes to that is the way it's been financed. There's actually three groups are financing. Be happy to call the representatives up if there are any questions on this. I'm not going to read the resolution per se because it's about 30 pages long. I don't think y'all want to listen to me that long. But basically, the Industrial Development Board of Rutherford County, Tennessee has amended and restated the economic impact plan for the Keystone Project development area. And I'm going to say resolve this 13th day of November 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you.
Was it a budget item? Was it a budget item? Oh, on the Keystone? No, I think it's fine.
The next resolution is authorizing the Twining stations, TIF, which is very similar. Several of the committees have seen these resolutions. And the one for the Twining station is in LaVergne. I'm going to read the first part of this, a resolution regarding the economic impact plan for the Waldron Station mixed-use development area. Whereas the Industrial Development Board of Rutherford County, Tennessee, the board is a public nonprofit corporation organized and existing under and by virtue of the provisions of Chapter 53, Title 7, Tennessee Code Annotated and amended as in the IDB Act. And whereas the industrial development corporations are authorized under Section 312 of the IDB Board Act to prepare and submit to cities and counties as an economic impact plan with respect to the area that includes a project within the means of Section 101 of the IDB Act, and that such properties that the authorities determine will be directly improved or benefit due to the undertaking of such project. And again, there's another 28 pages of this that I prefer not to read. If there are questions, we can call them up. As a matter of fact, I want to recognize Mayor Jason Cole, who's been at several of the meetings here. If he'd like to say something, I'd certainly welcome the chance for him to come up. But this does impact his area. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve and adopt by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners on this 13th day of November 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution authorizing Twin Station TIF. Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner James.
Question I'm curious on with these TIFs. Are the impact fees that the municipalities get also being held at bay, or is that something, does anybody,
So the TIFs are unrelated to any development taxes or the impact fees. If I'm incorrect on that, am I correct on that? Yeah, so this is simply for property taxes. So once they build this, the applicable impact fees and development taxes will still apply, and they're not part of the tax incentive.
I guess what I'm getting at is, are we within our legal rights to ask for a portion of that since we're foregoing 20 years?
Ask a portion from who?
Of their impact fees as they develop on the way.
The only way you could do that is if you had an interlocal agreement or a memorandum of understanding. State law doesn't give us the unilateral authority to force the cities to give us a portion of their collectible impact fees in consideration for approving the TIF.
Other questions or comments? Roll call, or you guys want to be on the board? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? We'll call for the vote. We have a motion and a second, once again, to approve the resolution authorizing the Twin Station TIF. Commissioners, for this, we will be on the board. Please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
18 yes, 3 no.
Motion passes. Chairman P.
Resolution authorizing the general fund budget amendment. This is budget item C. It has to do with the COPS grant. Last year, the opioid board was able to fund the part of the county that we would pay on this grant. However, it does not qualify to be under the opioid board for payment. Therefore, we have this resolution. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the general fund be amended as follows: for the sheriff's office, increase revenue, public safety part and commence $250,000, decrease in unassigned fund balance at $208,033, increase expenditures for other salaries, $331,380, Social Security, $20,546, pensions, $40,925, employee independent insurance, $59,783, disability insurance, $594, employee Medicare, $4,805. Resolved this 13th day of November, 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Oliver.
These increases are for what now? I see the list here, but why are we having these increases? Is it, I mean, why are we, why? I guess that's my question, yeah.
Well, these are, this helps us with salaries.
Right, I understand that, but are we employing more people, or, you know, what is the increase in salaries for, I guess is my question.
I would have to call on the sheriff to answer that completely, but this is a grant that we've used over the years to offset our cost of our employees.
This does add 6 positions to the budget, this grant, and then there's a matching piece, and our matching piece is the amount, the $208,000 that you see out of unassigned fund balance. This is a grant we've had the last few years, and that's why you see where it says COP 25 right there. So we've had a 23, a 24, and 25. They're always a year behind. And so this allows us to hire 6 individuals, and that's why you see the increase in salaries, but there's also an increase in revenue. And what happens is this grant will go so long, and after that, we have the ability to retain these people, and we generally pick them up, but it's a way for us to onboard new employees, and the federal government helps us front that cost so that it's not all on the local taxpayer here, and then we'll absorb the cost over time.
Thank you.
Other questions? Commissioner James.
I just want to point out that a grant like this, I witnessed at the first responder meeting a couple Saturdays ago. I mentioned it back in public safety, and some of the individuals I met there were based off, their employment was based off a grant like this that had come through, and at least from what I've seen on that firsthand experience, it's very well worth in this one. Just wanted to identify that moment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, no other questions, Commissioners, we will be on the board, so if you would, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
21 yes.
Motion passes.
Item D, resolution authorizing the MOU with the town of Smyrna, the city of Murfreesboro, and the city of LaVergne. It's pretty well self-explanatory, so I'll go ahead and read it. Resolution, whereas the Rutherford County Emergency Management Department desires to enter into a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the town of Smyrna, the city of Murfreesboro, and the city of LaVergne to jointly fund a study exploring the efficiency and benefits of unifying the public safety emergency dispatch services, including police, fire, and emergency medical services. And whereas the MOU provides for the cost of services rendered to be paid by all participating parties, with Rutherford County's responsibility not to exceed $35,000. Therefore, be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the county mayor and all other appropriate officials of Rutherford County, Tennessee be and are hereby authorized to execute an MOU with the town of Smyrna, city of Murfreesboro, the city of LaVergne, a copy of the same being attached hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference as if set forth herein at length verbatim to provide the services listed therein. Resolved the 13th day of November, 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, please.
Commissioner Oliver.
I believe it was public safety where Sheriff Fitzhugh expressed some concerns here. Have his concerns been resolved?
Not to my knowledge.
And I'm not prepared to answer that either.
There was a question on the legality of this and whether we should move forward with this, and it's seeming like this would be a waste of money because this is something that could possibly not even move forward.
The only thing I can say is we have over the years looked at consolidating our communications to try to save money. This is a study that would do that. And it's not just consolidating them. There are a lot of problems that are causing a problem with public safety. For instance, you might have dual or even triple dispatching at times. You may have jurisdictions that the lines are not correct because the cell tower didn't pick it up right. You know, there are a lot of underlying problems with it, and what this would do would try to solve those problems and try to get to the bottom of them. And I think just that by itself, even if we didn't consolidate, would be well worth the money to do this for public safety.
I understand the reasoning for the quote-unquote study. My question is relative to the sheriff's, I guess the challenge that he had relative to if this is something that could actually move forward as far as the consolidation. I understand the reasoning, but it sounded like in public safety that the money would kind of be a waste because legally we wouldn't be able to do consolidation. Or it sounds like this is some study to try to take to equalization to say, hey, we do need consolidation. So just need some clarity there as relative to the challenges that Sheriff Fitzhugh expressed.
Well, I might refer back to our attorney, but in my opinion, if the legislative bodies of each of these entities voted to consolidate it, I assume that would be something we could do now.
Yeah, so I'll try to take a stab at this one. So this MOU itself, once it's in place, it establishes a committee to have oversight as a liaison to the person or entity that is hired to do the study. And I've advised that if the commission passes this and the representatives from the respective governing bodies start to meet on this, then they are a recommending committee back to this commission, and that it is wise to publicly notice their meetings and to take minutes in compliance with the Open Meetings Act once they meet. And I believe that next month you may have a item that comes up that will appoint, a request will be to appoint the individuals that would represent the county to sit on this committee. And once the study is done, it'll be produced back up to the respective governing bodies. In terms of the consolidation effort itself, my understanding is that there's no state money or money of the emergency dispatch, the E911 committee, that would be utilized to fund a consolidation. And so I do think that there's authority of the respective governing bodies of the municipalities in the county to agree to consolidate without the involvement of the E911 board. It could be done by the E911 board. They could do that if they would like, but I don't think it's necessary that they participate if none of their money is being expended to do the consolidation.
But would they have to approve the process or approve, say for instance, after this takes place and a recommendation is to consolidate? Where does it go from there?
So
who gets to approve that?
Right. So I
or
think
if that's even possible.
I think that it would be beneficial that I'd be able to look into that once we get to that point to ensure that the county is not doing anything illegal, and I'm happy to do that. Now, at this preliminary stage, this is just to establish the committee to do the study, and I certainly think you're well within the legal bounds to do that. And so once the study comes back, before the county makes any affirmative moves, I'm happy to look into the law a little bit closer to verify that the counties and the cities can do this without the participation of the E911 board.
Okay, so we're going to spend $35,000 without even knowing if legally we could do it.
Well, like I just said, my understanding is that we can proceed with establishing consolidation without the E911 board if none of the money that is being utilized for the consolidation is being spent from the E911 board.
Would it not be wiser for us to wait till their meeting on December 5th, since there's no sense of urgency to do this? It seems like a worthwhile project, but it also seems like if we can just wait the 2.5, 3 weeks to be in sequence, we can settle all the legality questions at bay and just table this till January after they meet and decide which way they want to go and then supersede that.
That would be a policy decision for this body. That would be a policy decision for this body if it desires to defer this until after the E911 board meets in early December.
I'll make that as a motion.
We already have a motion.
We have a
on the
motion.
floor.
I stand by. I move to amend the motion to accept until after the 911 board.
We have a motion and a second to amend the original motion, which was to approve. Questions on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sorry. Commissioner Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman. And I do want to remind us that our rules require that we stand when we speak, stand to be recognized, and stand when we speak. It helps me hear better when people are standing. So thank you for that, Commissioners. Y'all remind me, public safety heard this. What was the vote?
I believe 5-2.
Budget heard this. What was the vote? Do you recall, Chairman, or anyone on budget?
I think.
Thank you. The EMS supports it. EMA supports it, I believe. Is that correct? If people who are on public safety could remind me. Chris Clark, Mr. Gaither, those parties support it. Mayor of Murfreesboro, the Mayor of Smyrna, the Mayor of LaVergne support it. Or are inconsequential. So thank you. I just needed the clarity. I didn't remember all those votes. Thank you.
Other comments? Seeing none, we'll be voting on the motion to amend. Once again, any other questions? We're going to be on the board for this, if you would. So commissioners, please cast your vote on the amendment to the original motion.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
1 yes, 20 no.
Motion to amend fails. We're back to the original motion. Any additional questions or comments on the original motion? Once again, commissioners, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes, 1 no.
Motion passes. Commissioner P.
Next is budget item E, and this is for the ambulance service. Every year, we make it available to our employees there to do further education. And this money that you're seeing today is the money that we're estimating that might be needed for these guys once they achieve their new level of education. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the ambulance service fund be amended as follows. Decrease in assigned for public health and welfare of $60,000. Increase expenditures in service staff development, $60,000. Resolved this 13th day of November 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second to approve, to authorize the ambulance service budget amendment. Questions or comments? You have a comment? Question?
The only thing I'll add is this is not from our unassigned fund balance. This is out of the ambulance service budget.
Commissioners, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
21 yes.
Motion passes. Chairman P.
Item F, I want to make a quick comment or two and maybe even call on our finance director before I read this resolution. This is being read tonight and being brought before you because of a recommendation from the Comptroller's office and actually a bill. And whether you agree with this or not, this is actually a bill that we have that we're going to have to pay. Now, if we resolve not to pay that bill, there are revenues that the state sends us, and that money would be withheld from those revenues. So this is one of those, you don't really have a choice. Michael, you want to expand on that?
Sure. We had a question at budget from one of the budget committee members, and I made a statement. I didn't know the days, but I do now. So when we received this bill, the TCA requires us to pay this within 45 days of receiving this bill. If we do not pay this within 45 days, the state has the ability to recover their costs through shorting our state shared revenues, and that's sales tax, things like that that they send us that pass through them. So if we were to vote no on this and you don't appropriate money for me to pay this, the state does have authority within 45 days to withhold, to get their money from that. So the chairman is right here. We don't really have much of a choice. If you wish to dispute it, we still needed to pay it, and then we could go that route. I'm not suggesting that. That was a question we got at budget, but we do have 45 days to pay this. That was a question that came up at budget, and I could not remember whether it was 40 or 45, but it is 45.
Resolution. Be it resolved by the Rutherford County Board of Commissioners that the general fund be amended as follows. A decrease in unassigned fund balance of $234,166. Increased expenditures to audit services, $234,166. Resolved this 13th day of November 2025. Mr. Chairman, I so move.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Commissioners, please cast your vote. Commissioner Sereno.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
21 yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our business. I do want to mention that our next scheduled meeting is December the 4th. And also, we have been requested by from our school superintendent and the Board of Education to have a joint meeting on December the 16th with Budget and the Health and Ed Department. So I wanted to mention that. That'll have to be announced in the paper, of course. And having said that, I want to wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman P. Item N2.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Oliver.
Yes, I have a question. What is our unassigned fund balance?
You're asking how much?
Yes.
You're going to have to give me about 30 seconds or 90 seconds. Which fund?
The general fund.
Mr. Chairman, while he's looking that up real quick, what is the date for the health and ed and budget joint? Okay, thank you.
Commissioner, this does not take into account the amount we approved a little over 200,000 tonight. I don't have that plugged in this yet because it just passed tonight, but roughly 135 million. That changes every day, depending on voided checks and prior year purchase orders and things like that, but within a few thousand, it's about 135 million.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Item N2, Public Safety Committee, Chairman Pettis Reed.
Mr. Chairman, I have no report, but our next meeting will be Monday evening, November the 24th, at 5:30, right here in this room.
Thank you. Item N3, Health and Education Committee, Chairman Phil Dodd.
Thank you, Chairman, and Commissioner McMurray. Yeah, thanks for asking that question. So our next meeting is November the 18th in these chambers, but as Chairman P mentioned, there will be a joint meeting at our December 16th Health and Ed Committee. The Board of Education asked could they come and present their rezoning study, have their rezoning expert with us, and to talk about enrollment. So I don't anticipate an ask, but I think it's informational, and Chairman P and I both agree to do that, as well as the Board of Education. So Ramel's December 16th, Tuesday, 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Chairman Dodd. Item N4, Property Management Committee, Chairman Alan McAdoo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next meeting will be November the 20th at 5:30 p.m. And also, I got some information that I need to present. And that information is that our engineering firm conducted by Bob Warren, we got the results back, and it will be on the November the 20th agenda for property management. I'm encouraging all commissioners to attend. That doesn't mean you get to vote with the committee, but to attend for question and answer period. KSA has put together a nice presentation of the inspection, the building, pros and cons, renovation, new building, so on and so forth. So I'm encouraging you to attend, and if you can attend, to follow it on our TV channel. But this will be very educational, and question and answer period will be, but all commissioners that are attending and not on the committee will not be voted. I want you to know that now. Okay? And after that, if I'm not mistaken, it will be passed on to Budget and Finance Committee. So therefore, you get another chance to go over it, look at it, ask questions, and from Budget and Finance Committee, it goes to the full commission.
Thank you, Chairman McAdoo.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question? Will the information be available in advance of the meeting? A week or two in advance, or a week or so in advance?
It's not on SharePoint yet, but it can be. Yeah.
It'll be on SharePoint, if I'm not mistaken, by the first of the week, possibly tomorrow.
Yeah. It's,
Chairman McAdoo.
thank you, Commissioner Phillips. Yeah, he had some corrections that had to be made, but it will be on SharePoint, okay? So if you got any questions and it's not on SharePoint, give me a call.
Those updates have been made. Hopefully, it'll be posted tomorrow, but if not, by the first of the week at the very latest. So we should have them all. That information should be available before next Thursday's Property Management Committee meeting. This is extremely important. We're talking about buying the Bank of America building. We've had the inspection done. This is the report on this inspection and potential cost to renovate that building. So it's important that you either attend the meeting or watch the meeting via TV or via replay on TV. And we'll also get another chance at it at budget before it comes before the full commission. Once again, this is important. If you could be in attendance or watch next Thursday's Property Management Committee meeting. Thank you. N5, Public Works and Planning Committee, Chairman Anthony Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do not have a report tonight. Our next meeting will be December 2nd, 2025 at 5:30. This time I'd like to yield the floor to Commissioner Piercy.
Commissioner Piercy.
Thank you, sir. I had asked for him to do that because I thought what I wanted to talk about here needed to be brought up in Public Works. It'll have to go back to Public Works and come through the whole policy committee. But my concern is the new state committee that's been formed to study the ability for a county to say yes or no to a landfill expansion or a new landfill or the permitting of a new landfill in their county. It's called the Jackson Law. I think we adopted that law in 90, 91, 92, somewhere along in there. So we do possess that ability today. I have watched some of the meetings of this special group. Shane Reed, our senator, is the chairman of this committee. And I was watching one of the meetings the other day, and one of the gentlemen on the committee, it wasn't Mr. Reeves, made the comment, which made me quite concerned. He made the comment that sometimes a county has to get something they don't want to realize they needed it. That concerns me when we're talking about landfills. I would like for us, I'll be more than glad to make the motion for whoever makes our resolutions. Would it be our attorney?
Mostly, yes.
I would like to make the motion for our county attorney to craft us a resolution and get it to us for the next Public Works meeting and let us go over it for approval and let it follow through so we can get it done before the end of the year, if it is possible. And that is to maintain the possession of our Jackson Law, that we desire to keep it. We have no desire to entertain the idea of letting it be taken away if possible.
Is the Public Works Committee before or after Thanksgiving?
Yes, it does.
Not a problem.
Okay.
December 2nd.
I think it would be a good tool for our state representatives to have on the table and just say, well, hey, you know, Rutherford County wants to keep their Jackson Law, and it might be a question to ask the city of Murfreesboro if they would be entertained to join us in this, because Mayor McFarland is playing a pretty big role now in the trash situation, and we could ask him to join, or we might just do it on our own. It would be y'all's choice on that. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to ask our legal department to put together a resolution in support of the Jackson Law. Other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, would that be in support of it existing without amending the Jackson Law?
Chairman Harris.
Yeah, I have no problem with this, but it needs to go through steering first, and steering meets before Public Works. So if Mr. Piercy has no problem, I'd like to see that resolution introduced in steering, and then we will be able to pass it or have no problem with that, and then it can be introduced into Public Works and then sent to the full commission. If he doesn't have a problem with that, since it's legislation in the state, it's supposed to go through steering.
that okay? Steering meets the night before Public Works, which is December 1st.
All the better.
Without exception, we will present it. So your motion is to take it to Public Works, but without exception, and if no one has a problem with it, we'll have that presented the night before, which will be our steering committee on December 1st, and then at Public Works on December 2nd. Is that okay with everybody?
It's fine.
Very good. Can I?
Yeah, take a vote.
Yeah. Okay, ready to vote? And once again, it's a vote for our legal department to put together a resolution in support of the Jackson Law. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion to approve carries. Thank you, Commissioner Piercy. Thank you, Chairman Johnson. Item N6, Steering Legislative and Governmental Committee, Chairman Craig Harris.
Sorry. Steering has no report, and our next meeting is December 1st at 5:30.
Thank you, Chairman. Other business. We've got one item. It's an update on the Property Assessor's Office, and we're going to get into a discussion, and our county attorney will lead that discussion. So, Nick, you're up.
Lest we forget, the county attorney and the finance director were asked to look into these matters, so I'm not going to, we're going to tag team it a little bit.
Tried, Michael, to get you out of it, but.
Thank you, Chairman. So a couple items as an update for the commission with respect to the Rutherford County Property Assessor's Office. We were asked to look into the state's CAMA system called Impact. On your SharePoint is a plethora of information that we were able to obtain. I think it is wise for this commission following today to just digest that information. There is FAQs on there. There is a cost sheet associated with switching to the state CAMA system, and either the functionality of it and what the system can and can't do. There is, I think, a map on there that shows which counties in Tennessee are on the state CAMA system. I think 85 of the counties in Tennessee are on it, with the exception of some of the major ones, which would be Davidson, Williamson, Montgomery, Shelby, and Hamilton and Knox. And then there is a couple smaller counties in Hickman and Chester County that are not on the state CAMA system. I believe that some of the 3 or 4 of the counties, the bigger ones in Davidson, Knox, and Hamilton and Shelby, use a private software vendor similar to what the Property Assessor's Office currently uses. I was also asked to look at the current contract of our software provider. The Property Assessor's Office has provided that to us. There is the ability to terminate that contract if and when in the future the county determines to do that. We can do that, and then there would have to be a shift. Obviously, the Assessor's Office needs a software in order to do this, so cannot leave it hanging out to dry. And so, anyway, to summarize, we do have the ability to get out of our current contract, and then the information that's on your SharePoint, I would ask that you digest that between now and whenever this comes up again, to understand more about the state CAMA system and how it works. And then Michael has some cost stuff on there to explain.
So 2 things I want to touch on. The first one is the current vendor we use, that the Property Assessor Office uses. That current vendor, we have other departments that we use that vendor and use that software through. So I think, not that we're making a recommendation, but I will say, please do not make a rash decision, because it does not just affect the Property Assessor's Office. It affects Chancery Court, Circuit Court, our OIT department, and our planning and engineering departments. And so as we look through this, we have to be cautious about, to make a decision, we need to be cautious about what we do there as far as who we pick. With that said, when looking at the cost, they are comparable. When we look at all the cost of this vendor versus an estimate of what the state would cost, I don't think there's any significant savings that we can find. It might in fact be a little more expensive to go to the state system, just depending on what services we kept with the current vendor at other departments versus what we would move to the state. They're not material either way to the county's budget, I will say that, versus what we have now versus moving to the state, and neither one of them would be material to the county's budget. There would be really no savings either way. And so without me diving into each exact parcel and going through, we can't give you an exact dollar amount. I can just tell you that it's not going to be material one way or the other, which financially to the county. But I would caution as far as making any rash decision until we have met with a few departments, me and Nick have, to see how it would affect them. But I would caution as far as making any rash decision there.
And then just to kind of conclude here on this particular item, you know, the comptroller, his recommendation was to switch to the state system. From their perspective, my understanding is it would allow them kind of a sort of communication bridge to the property assessor's office and allow them easier insight into the data that's being collected and input. That's kind of the reason that they advocate for this, to have a uniformity in assessments across the state, and that they can identify any sort of problems and keep it in line with what their guidelines and advice are to property assessors throughout the state. That's what I've been told.
Point of clarity.
I'm sorry. Commissioner James.
This is more for Nick. Do we even have the legal authority to dictate what program another official uses, another elected official uses in his office?
Yeah, so I think at this point, our advice is to take this under advisement for now as information. And you now know that you have the ability, the commission does have the ability to terminate the contract, and the commission does have the ability to appropriate funds and earmark them for certain uses. On that specific legal question, I'm not in a position tonight to opine on that.
That's an answer I'd like a follow-up on when you can, because I'd like to know, yes, I know we can, choose funding or not funding the mechanism, but can we choose what avenue he has to use? Essentially, the way you said, we could potentially earmark it for this program, and that constitutional officer could still choose to use the other program, and now we have funding locked up.
That is true. And then if the contract is terminated with the current provider and we've earmarked funds to use a software to be used by that office, then it calls into question the legal question that you've asked, but it also calls into question whether the property assessor can, and if he's been provided the software to comply with his statutory duties and functions, whether he is willing and able to do it. So there's a whole universe there that right now I think you just need to digest this information and revisit it.
Commissioner Oliver.
Yes. Are the other counties being charged to change over to CAMA as well?
I think every county that subscribes to it, there is a cost, an approximate cost sheet, and they do pay for that.
Not charged, as in cost, but asked, required, whatever, to change to the comptroller system.
So there is no requirement. I think they have just made that request to us. They make requests all the time for us to be on certain accounting systems. Sometimes we agree with those requests, sometimes we doesn't. It's really up to the local jurisdiction, specifically when we go to purchase something. That's why we have a purchasing committee, and so that really is vested with, with this body and our purchasing committee as far as choosing the services and vendors that we're going to use. So there is no requirement, and I'm sure the state would love everybody to be on their system because it does make their job easier. But also the needs of some of the larger counties. There's a reason you see the counties on that map. Those needs are typically different than some of the smaller counties, right? Our needs are different than Sequatchie County. A lot different in size there. So I would, based on our meetings, I think they would make that request to every county, and I think that that's still up to our local leaders here to choose which system we want to use.
And then previously you stated there's really no cost savings either way.
That's correct. Like I said, our parcels
The
change.
state is costing more.
There's a potential it could, yes.
But no cost savings.
There is a cost system savings on your iPad, and so that's obviously a per parcel cost, and because our parcels fluctuate up or down and stuff, that's why I can't give you an exact dollar amount because we change. I can just tell you it's not material to the county, and by that I mean, our budget being $900 million plus, a difference of $40,000 or $50,000 either way, it's really what better system is going to serve the county here.
And how many other departments did you say use the same system as the property assessor?
Well, they use the same vendor
for
I mean,
different-
same
For
vendor.
different services. They don't
Terms.
necessarily use the CAMA system, but we use that vendor to do different things for the county. And I said it was Chancery Court, Circuit Court, obviously the Property Assessor's Office, our OIT department, the Planning and Engineering Department. So that's 5. I'm looking, it'd be those main departments that use it. And our Trustees Department, this vendor also helps us collect some payments from some of our departments. So our trustees integrated into that. And we're not saying that you couldn't separate that, because you definitely could. I'm just saying that I would look into that in detail before you made a rash decision.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry,
Couple
Commissioner.
questions along that same, do we buy, is that per license agreement? So if we got 5 employees, we have 5 agreements, or is it open to every employee?
I don't know that answer, but we use them for different things, this vendor, right? And so we do pay for some web hosting for some of our offices for that. Obviously, the Property Assessor's Office pays for to use it for their CAMA system, but they also process some of our payments for some of our offices. Like if you go to the Planning Department and want to pay a fee, this vendor processes that. Now, that's separate from what the Property Assessor uses it for, so I'm not sure how, I don't have tonight to be able to say, hey, this is a per license, per user, because we use them for so many different things. And so to trace that down, I just don't know that answer.
Okay. My concern on that is my agency, we're swapping to a new management system. We've been on one management system for long, and we're going to a new one. We pay a per license agreement, but we can't ever get rid of our other one. So in this example, we've got 130,000 parcels. If all that data, I don't know about this, but we're having to pay for our data to be offloaded that system and put in our new system. We know 100% of that data is not going to go over, so you got to keep a license open in your old system, and you got 130,000 parcels. You may not touch that thing for 10 years and then find information's missing. You're going to have to go in the old system and see if you can find it or not. So that's what concerns me right in the middle of this, us swapping to a new system, because I know verbatim right now what we're going through at my agency. Something to think about.
Chairman P.
I also have some questions about changing. First of all, you said Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville are on similar, or are they the same as our current property assessors using?
Let me check my file and give me a second if you got another question.
I do. Something I want to point out, one of the things that the comptroller stressed was accuracy, and the fact that he found some discrepancies with accuracy in the audits that he did. One thing I want to point out is if we do switch to the state system, which would be a new system to these employees, you've got a whole new training curve to go through again. I wanted to point that out. And it's something I hadn't thought about a bit, but I mean, that is important if we're looking at accuracy. Part of the problem, it seems, would be training. So we'd have to do more training, and I think it would open us up for some more problems.
Chairman P., per information from the Property Assessor's Office, Shelby County, Davidson County, and Hamilton County use the same software that Rutherford County currently uses.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to know. And that may be, as Michael mentioned, that, you know, larger counties like us may have different needs, and I'm not aware of what those needs may be other than volume. But I think that's got all my questions. But again, I tend to listen to the comptroller. You know, they're pretty much the end of the discussion when they put out a ruling. We basically have to follow that. However, this was a suggestion as far as changing this software. Thank you.
Commissioner Gooch, start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and colleagues. I do find this map interesting where the top 6, 7 counties do use another system other than what the comptroller in the state's using. So I would like a little bit more of analysis on why. And I know with the different needs, like Robert P. says, yeah, the needs are different, but what are those? Why are the larger counties using another system? And if we could I mean, before I would even vote on changing or not, I would want to know the why behind that question.
Commissioner McMurray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To piggyback off of Commissioner P. in regards to the training, next year is reappraisal year, correct?
Yes.
So am I correct on that part? Okay, so that's just something to kind of to consider as well. You got a lot of training, and you got reappraisal year, which is a headache itself. So just to throw that out there. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right. All right, the other item that we were asked to look into is the ability to hire an outside vendor to do an independent review of the parcels here in Rutherford County, whether that's all of the parcels or any other sort of defined scope, 10%, 20%, et cetera. We have looked into that, and I think that if the commission is wanting to do that, that's something that we can start the process of doing. The process looks like this. The commission could request that the purchasing committee issue an RFP for this particular vendor and receive bids on that. Upon receipt of those bids, the purchasing committee, as it typically does with selecting vendors, could award a bid to a particular vendor who it thinks would do the best job. The RFP should allow for multiple different scopes in terms of providing prices, et cetera, for different percentages of parcel review, because it may be that we don't want to review all 130,000 parcels simply due to price, based on the evidence that you have so far learned about this matter. And so that's why we would want the RFP to be framed to give multiple options and let the purchasing committee select the potential vendor. Once that happens, it would be forwarded on to budget, because that would have to be appropriated, and then it would come back to this full body for approval before anything further could happen. There could be a motion made tonight, and I'll let Chairman Phillips chime in that regard if the body is prepared to get that process going.
Questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner James.
will this third-party review, will this chunk, 10%, 20%, whatever we choose, go towards our reappraisal, or does the statute not allow that to be used?
So if you want to hire a third party, it's strictly to that. It's strictly for them to come and report back to this body or to purchasing, because you want a third party, not the property assessor's office and not the comptroller's office. So this would have no bearing on the comptroller's office and have no bearing on the property assessor. It would be to report back to this body. And it's really an independent review. It's exactly what it sounds like. This body and the purchasing committee would set the exact what they want to come back from that independent person. You know, they could look at 2%, 5%, and you could direct them to look at specific things, but they would report back to here, and it would have nothing to do with comptroller's office or the property assessor. It's exactly what it sounds like, an independent review.
So we could potentially be paying for a review about numbers that are being adjusted in real time for the appraisal. Would it not be more prudent, wiser to consider this or look into this after the reappraisal year versus having alterations to come through at the beginning, and the facts could be skewed? Or
two things.
One
One of the things you're going to ask them to, I would imagine you would ask them to look at, is things like square footage of an existing house, right? I mean, that's something we look at, or fixtures. Does it have a garage? How is that assessed, right? I mean, those are all things that they're not changing in one day's time. But second, that we were asked to opine on what were your options, and so that is one option. You could put it off and defer it for sure. But the comptroller's office made two recommendations. One was the state system, and one was to get an independent third party. So we're just providing you those options. But I would say two things. One, you definitely have the right to put that off. But the other is some things that they're going to look at would have no bearing on reappraisal, because they're looking to make sure the square footage of, my house or somebody's house is correct, which the square footage shouldn't change because of reappraisal, right? That the appraised value may change, but not the square footage or things like that.
Other questions? Got a potential motion. Commissioner Harris?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go ahead and I want to request and have a motion to authorize a request to purchasing committee to issue a request for proposals for an independent third-party assessment of Rutherford County parcels with multiple scope scope option, such as different parcel sample sizes, to be selected by the purchasing committee, and once the purchasing committee awards the bid, the matter shall be forwarded to the budget committee and then to the full county commission.
We have a motion and a second. We will continue discussion. I'm sorry, Commissioner P.
Assuming that we do get a third party to check these and both purchasing and budget, be seeing those, if that's the case. But if we have a third party do an assessment, will we actually, their findings, they're different from what our property assessor's office has come up with, would we then adopt the new appraisal that they come forward with? Or what's the process? Or do you have an answer for that?
You want to take it?
So there's nothing, this party would be really just to bring you back information as a committee. That, what's going on at the property assessor's office versus in conjunction with reappraisal with the comptroller's office, that's still between them. You are hiring an independent agency or group to come and give this body a report on what they think that is. And so the comptroller's office could, I guess, choose to use that. I don't think they will. But I mean, you're really just, they're bringing you information. It would have no bearing. You couldn't force property assessor's office to use that appraisal, and the comptroller's office could choose to use that or choose not to.
And let me just quickly piggyback. The comptroller has said one thing, and the property assessor's office is saying another thing. And so a neutral party coming into it who's being paid compensation to provide a verifiable report may give a better idea of what's going on.
Well, I wanted to bring that out, of course, to find out what the end result would be of actually hiring someone else. Now, I am in favor of us doing this, in favor of the motion that's on the floor that we're discussing. Even if we find out later with more information that we need to change the scope of what the third party would do, or for instance, we might say, well, anybody that's disputed their appraisal, we definitely want to look at those. That would be one of the first things that would pop up in my mind. But like I said, I think this is something we need to go ahead and approve, at least to get moving, and we can get an RFP out there, and we can work out all the kinks from there. Thank you.
Other questions? We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Irvin.
Thank you. The thing I would ask the purchasing committee, and as we discuss it on budget, is we have as small a sample size as possible it could be statistically meaningful, statistically valid on a moderate size, okay, that we could basically then extrapolate to minimize the cost. In other words, smaller sample size with a meaningful margin of error, okay, so that whatever, and you could work with whoever to try to sort that out in terms of what's a meaningful margin of error, okay, with the smallest sample size possible, okay, so you could still be statistically valid though, so we could have a reasonable idea of what the numbers look like. Okay, is that reasonably clear? Does everybody kind of follow what I'm suggesting? So we minimize the cost?
I think that's the intent.
Thank you.
Other questions? Sorry, Commissioner Gooch.
Okay, just to be clear, the motion doesn't suggest the sample size, or does it? And if it doesn't, purchasing makes that decision?
The RFP.
Yeah.
So I think what we kind of envisioned to give this body and the purchasing committee the most flexibility possible is you can put out an RFP with multiple options in it. And so you may want to go ahead and put in there, get somebody to bid on the all 130,000 so you know what that cost. But at the same time, you can have them bid on 5%, right? And so you could then, purchasing could choose which to go with. They could also choose what to put in that RFP, what sample size to request. Think of it similar, we could put out a bid for a building and we could have an addendum on that building, and somebody could choose to, what does it cost to add an extra 30,000 square foot? And we've done that before for schools a lot, and they choose whether to take that or not to take that. So when we put on an RFP, I think we envisioned having people bid on multiple amounts, either the full amount or let's say 5%, I'm just pulling those out. And then the purchasing committee would choose what to send back to budget to fund, whether that was 5%, 2%, 10%.
So purchasing would decide, say, a bid on 2%, 5, 10, so forth.
Yes.
And I'd also add that any commissioner can come to any other standing committee, and our rules allow for the commissioners to speak and be heard. And so if there is interest from any commissioners as we move forward in this process who want to come to the purchasing committee and who aren't members of it and voice their thoughts on it, they are more than welcome to do so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just for
Mr.
clarification, though, this is starting with purchasing, going to a varying scope on the RFP. After it goes to purchasing, goes to budget, then the full commission per the motion, though, correct?
Correct.
It's a little different than before, where purchasing makes their decision and executes the contract, correct?
Correct, because there's not funding available for this.
Excellent. Just wanted to make sure that was out there.
Correct.
Other questions? Once again, we have a motion and a second on the floor to authorize our purchasing committee to issue an RFP on an independent audit. For this, commissioners will be on the board. If you would, please cast your vote.
Anyone that did not vote and wishes to vote, or anyone who would like to change your vote, you may do so now.
Record the vote.
20 yes, 1 no.
Motion passes. Thank you, commissioners. In regard to the impact, we will take that under advisement. There's nothing for us to do. We'll take it under advisement. Okay? Commissioner James.
Mr. Chairman, I just feel it's important to point out that throughout this process, last month and now, the only person that we seem not to have heard of or opened the floor to listen to was our property assessor himself. And it's just worth considering to hear all sides. That's my opinion, sir.
Okay. Moving along under other business, I have nothing else. Anyone? Other business? Shout outs? Commissioner Piercy.
Today, our own Lisa Crowell was elected president of the Tennessee Associations of County Clerks.
Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo.
We owe her a round of applause.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Anthony, did I hear you say that you served in the Army?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. I feel it would be remiss on my part if I didn't bring this humble to the court here. Of the 5 Johnson boys, I was the last, ranking from major all the way down to Spec 4. The 5 of us have a total service of 51 plus years in the 4 branches of service.
Hip, hip, hooray. Any other shout outs?
I just want to once again thank those veterans that took the time to come up here today.
Thank you, Commissioner James, for bringing that to our attention. Commissioner Reed.
I'd like to thank 2 members of our state delegation for some great work out in my district, Senator Don White and Representative Tim Rudd, who has dedicated a part of Highway 99 that runs through Iggleville to a gentleman who has given so much to the Iggleville community, Mr. John Edward Turner, who passed away a few years ago. But Mr. Turner has given so much to Iggleville, but he did it in a way that he didn't tell anybody. He gave property to the Eagleville School. He worked and rebuilt their parking lot, hauling soil from his own farm, paid for the trucks to get it all done. He would slip in the back door of the school cafeteria once a week, paying for lunches for children who could not pay for their own lunches, not telling anyone. The reason I know some of this, I spent a lot of time with him. He had a shop down there. He was a historian, collected a lot of things, and I enjoyed a lot of hours with Mr. Turner. So I just want to say thank you to those individuals within our state delegation who saw the need to represent him, and to the Turner family for this great honor that was done down there.
Thank you. And once again, thank you to Senator White and Representative Rudd. Thank you. Commissioner Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, on your desk, we had put a Rutherford Opioid Board booklet for y'all. This is telling everything we did and our strategies and the amount of money that we had given and some of the results from our programs. So if you can, take a look at that, and I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
real quick, the reason why the courthouse is blue tonight is tomorrow's World Diabetes Day, and it's November's Diabetes Month. So if you can, just wear some type of blue tomorrow. As a type 1 diabetic myself, I thank you all for always partaking in the foods that I bring in, even though sometimes it's not diabetic friendly, but but no, that's the reason why it was blue. Some people were asking, so that's why. So it'll probably be on Channel 5 in the morning too.
Anything else? There are several things that were laying on your desk. Of course, Plan Rutherford is important. You have the information now. So if you would, take that information to heart. We'll have a special call meeting in January to consider Plan Rutherford. So the lobbying efforts that's going on and will continue to go on, you have the answers in front of you. So if you would, take a look at that document and become familiar with it. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chairman Phillips. Years ago, when I was on the commission before, I was going to other city meetings, just other public meetings, and there was no public comments here. There were everywhere else that I went. So I brought that up to the commission. A lot of backlash, but a lot of people got on board, and we passed that. And I don't regret that. But I pause and think, do I not regret it? At times, but no, I don't. I want to hear the public. I want to hear what you've got to say. People come up here and say, you don't care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't have brought that up. If I didn't want to hear you, I wouldn't have brought that up. And that's another reason I'm back on here. By the grace of God, I got back on here and hope I'm making a difference. But in my 74 years, well, I'll go back to January of 71. Yes, I was drafted. I was jerked away from my family to serve in the armed services in the Army. Met at AFIS at 4 o'clock in the morning, sat around there in the cold, got on a bus at 5 o'clock and went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Hadn't had anything to eat since 12 o'clock that day. They gave us a bologna sandwich and a carton of milk. This is your food. The milk was spoiled, so was the bologna. But I ate it and I drank it. I didn't complain at all. But I was scared to death. Several people that graduated with me were on there with me. The AFIS nurse, the only person that had access to our lockers, we're in our underwear, that's all we've got, and a key around our neck. He took my money. I left there with not a penny. They told us to bring enough to get by. I actually thought we were going back home. but we ended up at Fort Campbell. And I already told you what happened there. And scared to death, being yelled at out there in the dark and the cold, but we took it. There again, by the grace of God, and my mother. My mother's prayers kept me in the United States. I was blessed. I didn't have to go to Vietnam. But I wished I'd have taken a picture. So when I went home, the carpet in the hallway, my mother would just march up and down with her Bible, praying for me. That kept me here. I served my time in Texas after I got out of boot camp. But then I have people come up here, and I brought it up. I want to hear the comments. And then I have people come up here and say, you don't care. And a lot of them talk about something that they're not really aware of what they're talking about. They don't know the history of it, or they haven't lived enough years to really understand it. And some of them do. And the last gentleman that talked tonight, I appreciated the way he addressed us, and it was with dignity. And I expect that, not out of everyone, because we're not all the same. But I served my country, but for a long time, I beat myself up because I didn't go to Vietnam. I had friends that went and didn't come back. And today it still comes back and troubles me. But I had an older veteran, and I was talking to him at Walmart, the old Walmart in Smyrna, where he knew everybody. And I was talking to him about, it was really troubling to me. And he says, you got drafted, right? I said, yes. And you went, yes. He said, you did what you were told to do, what you were asked to do, yes. Then you did your part. You were here supporting us when we went to Vietnam or anywhere else over the world. But the reason, and I still don't put myself in the same class as probably any of the veterans that were up here tonight, but I did do my part. But I don't think any of the veterans, including me, did our job to have our borders open and let everybody that wants to come in, come in. Is the system flawed as far as what ICE is doing? Yeah, I'm sure it is. I see things that trouble my heart. But it troubles me for somebody to come up here or out on the street or anywhere and just ridicule us and say, you don't know what you're doing. We don't appreciate you. You don't appreciate me. Well, I don't appreciate somebody coming up here every month telling me the same thing. I don't need to hear that every month. And we're not the ones to fix it. ICE needs to be looked at, and things do need to be changed. But it doesn't need to be eliminated because that is a job that needs to be done. So please, people that speak up here, if you've already spoken, don't come up here and say the same thing. We've heard it, but all that does is turn somebody off. It doesn't get the job done, and you're really speaking to the wrong people. So I'm pleading with you, find out who you need to talk to get the process changed. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Oliver.
Commissioner, thank you for your service. I appreciate your comments. I think the challenge is the scenario that you shared is different from what our citizens in America are dealing with when it comes to ICE. Now, the reason they're saying we don't care is because there's an inaction and they feel like they're not being heard. The reason why they keep saying it is because they just want some type of empathy. They want us to maybe reach out to Sheriff Fitzhugh to get them out of the contract, things of that nature. They want to be heard. They want to feel like we empathize with what they're going through. And so that is why they continue to say they can't trust you. They are hurt. Their loved ones are being taken away, and they are challenged. And I see you don't want to hear what I have to say, but I sat here and listened to you, and like I said, I appreciate your service, but you should be empathetic to what our citizens are sharing.
Anyone else? Commissioner Piercy. We have a motion to adjourn. We are. Once again, thank you for your attendance and your participation tonight. We are adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.